My name is Tom and I love all types of cars, especially turbocharged ones. I also enjoy wrenching and racing, so let's see what we can get into today. In the Turbo Garage. In our last episode, we began work on our Grand National project by getting the old beast in the garage and up in the air. Then we took a good long look at our rear end and... wait, that doesn't sound right. I put my rear end into my van and handed it over to a gentleman named Chip. No. Let's just say we rebuilt the differential with the parts you see here. We also added a set of new upper and lower rear control arms to improve handling and reduce wheel hop. It all turned out really well. Now we focus in on the transmission. Our goal here is to improve response and get off the line faster. This all stems from the one and only time we took the car to the local 8th mile track. It pushed through the staging beams any time we tried to build boost at the line, which resulted in terrible 60-foot times and bad ETs. There are usually two reasons this happens: a mismatched torque converter and/or weak brakes, and we already addressed the weak brakes shortly after the track visit. So let's get to work on the transmission. The previous owner had the factory Turbo Hydromatic 204R transmission rebuilt with a mild shift improver kit that seems to be performing well. So, to improve upon things, we're going to install a new torque converter. To get started on this job, we first remove the inspection cover, which gives us a good look at that old torque converter that we'll be replacing. Next, we loosen the transmission pan to drain all the old fluid. This is a messy job, so be sure to have a big drain pan on hand like this great one that I got from Lyle. It's made for transmission work, but I use this for all sorts of jobs. Once the bulk of the fluid was done draining, I removed the pan and dumped out the rest. With the pan off, we now have a great view of the brains of the transmission, the valve body. Thankfully, I don't have to tear into this today, but installing a shift kit is not difficult, especially with the great instructions that most manufacturers provide. Next, we unbolt the drive shaft from the rear end yoke and remove it, along with the TV cable, shift linkage, speedometer cable, and electric connector. After that, we unbolt the 3 torque converter mounting bolts from the flex plate, turning the engine over by hand to access each one. We can now remove the bolts that secure the transmission to the engine. The bolts are a long way from your reach, so be sure to break out your ratchet extensions. Every last one of them. After supporting the transmission with the jack, removing your bell housing bolts, and removing the transmission mount, it can be set free. With the transmission out of the car, we can now remove the old torque converter. Get ready, because when it's full of fluid, it's a little heavy. In order to accomplish our goal of better transmission performance, we chose a converter from Performance Torque Converters. They are well known in the Grand National community and have a great reputation for making solid products for many makes and models of vehicles. After talking with the friendly folks at PTC about my setup and how I plan to use the car, they suggested their 10-inch lockup converter, which offers a 2800 RPM stall speed, which will suit our modification list and usage perfectly. Following PTC's instructions, we start by adding transmission fluid to the new torque converter. After that, it's ready to mate up to our transmission. Be sure to read the instructions carefully, as it's easy to cause damage if installed incorrectly. For example, engaging the converter properly onto the front pump is crucial. With the torque converter installed, I didn't waste any time getting the transmission back into the car. Once the transmission is back in its home and the bell housing bolts are tight, we double check that the torque converter is installed properly and then torque our new flex plate bolts to spec. And now for a very important message.
Hey folks, if you haven't gotten your DVD copy of Black Air, the Buick Grand National documentary yet, don't worry, it's now also available on iTunes, so it's easier than ever to get it. You can have it here, take it with you, watch it anytime you want. I like to watch it in the garage even. Check it out. No.
We now return to our program. With the torque converter mated to the engine, the drive shaft goes back in and gets tightened up at the rear yoke. After the transmission was securely bolted in, I cleaned up the stock pan and magnet. I also added a new Fram filter and pan gasket while I was in there. Once that was done, the pan gets tightened and torqued down according to the specs in the service manual. Finally, after reconnecting the shift linkage, speedometer cable, and electrical connection, we reinstall the inspection cover and get the car back on the ground for a big gulp of transmission fluid. I chose Dexron 6 from Castrol after doing lots of research and talking with the folks at PTC. There are a few options here, so be sure to look into the differences before selecting a fluid that meets your needs. This last step is going to take some patience because these transmissions need a bunch of fluid. So take your time and, I don't know, grab yourself a drink. Ah, that's better. Now you can start the car, visually inspect everything, listen for anything out of the ordinary, and add the additional fluid as needed. Get ready for a little smoke if you got some penetrating fluid or other gunk on the exhaust like I did here. It's great to hear the old GN running again, but we still have lots of work to do.
Thanks for watching. The next time you see the Grand National, we'll be under the hood looking for some more horsepower, so stay tuned for that one. And also, thank you so much again for all your subscriptions and liking my videos and jumping on the Facebook page. I really appreciate all that. It's all good stuff. So with that said, thanks again, folks. We'll see you next time. Where in the world is my Black Air DVD? I just had it like 2 seconds ago. Hey, get back here with that! Jeez!